After spending 6 months in the UK last year, traveling all throughout the country, we've received quite a few questions about our circumstances, traveling with our dog, and our love of British culture and the UK in general. Today, we're gonna attempt to answer a lot of your questions. We have received so many questions about specifically the UK, and we will get to so many of your questions, including, where we would live, where we would move to if we moved to the UK, if we would move to the UK, all of them. We'll get to at least as many as we can today. But I thought it would be a good place to kind of start with our story, because we had somebody ask us a couple months ago in a comment just what our story was and why YouTube and what we do for work and things like that. So if you're new here, you haven't been around for a long time, we are Kara and Jeremy. I'm Kara.
I'm Jeremy.
And we basically, a few years ago, we were living in Florida during the pandemic and just, I think, feeling like we hadn't experienced the world. And so we decided on a whim, I guess, that we were gonna put all of our stuff in storage. Well,
I guess it's more than a whim.
Yeah, more than a whim, but we sold a bunch of our belongings, put the rest in storage, and have spent the last 3 years traveling. And the first year of that travel experience was us exploring the United States, a lot of places we'd never been before.
Yeah, mostly the east side of the country, but we did go all the way back to the west side.
And as it turns out now, a lot of them were places that were named after British cities, like Boston and Portsmouth, New Hampshire. So I think it's kind of funny that that's how it started. And then about a year after that, we decided, you know what? We've been making these videos about trying different British foods and things. Let's go to the UK. And that's just what we did.
It could sound a little more simple than it was, but that's the gist of it.
Yeah, we took I think about 3.5 week trip. It was our very first time, and we, flew into London and hired a car and drove down to Cornwall, drove up all the way up to Scotland, and just went to all kinds of places in between. And we just had so much fun. It was such an amazing experience. We had so many people, so many of you guys that started watching our channel then, started telling us about more places that we needed to visit. And so we, after we got home, started planning the next trip. And we've now been 3 times. And our last trip that we took last year, we spent just under 6 months in the UK, throughout Great Britain. And we brought our dog with us, which was a interesting experience.
It was an experience.
I think in a nutshell, that's our story and how we got here. We returned from the UK, gosh, it has been almost a year now since we left the UK. And I have really been craving a return trip. Yeah. I miss it a lot. I think we both have been ready to go back. We do not have any plans currently.
We're working on that.
But we're working on it. Hopefully we'll be back before the end of the year, but if not, it might be spring of next year. But that's where we are now. So the person that left this comment asked, do you work? Are you married? How long have you been together? Do you have children? What part of the USA do you both come from? How did you meet? How old is your dog? Lots of questions, but I think they're good questions. Questions that we don't necessarily address on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, so I am from a town or city, I guess, called Vancouver, Washington. It is outside of Portland, Oregon, which I generally just say that that's where I'm from because it's less confusing. Yeah, because Washington State can be confused with Washington, D.C., and being from Vancouver, people can confuse that with the Canadian Vancouver, and it's just easier to say Portland. That's where I grew up, and that is actually where we met.
And I grew up in the Salt Lake City area. We'll just go with that. You won't know the places that I actually grew up in, so Salt Lake City. We met when we were in Vancouver. We actually met online and learned that we just had all of these kind of random bands and movies, and we both were Disneyland nerds at that point. And we met and really hit it off and have been together pretty much since then.
Yeah, we moved in together. We got our first apartment together a few months after that. And the rest is history.
The rest is like 10 years.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah, it's been 10 plus years that we've been together now. So we aren't married. We don't have any kids unless you count our dog child.
Yep.
Our dog child Carly is our
only child.
Our only child. So we did also ask you on our community post about your questions that you have for us. So we will cover some of those.
We didn't address the work thing. They did ask about that.
Oh yeah. Okay, yes. I have a remote job that I've had for a few years now, and that has been what has allowed us to travel and do stuff, because I have a pretty flexible schedule. I can make my own hours, and
I do like freelance graphic design and video editing stuff, and then I edit art videos.
Yeah, which
things like that.
I feel like at this point the video editing is pretty much a full-time job for you.
For the most
part. For the most part. It's interesting because I think a lot of times when we travel, people are, I guess, confused about our situation. And I mean, the situation is that a lot of times we will go in the morning and film and kind of spend, 6 hours in a place, and then we'll go home and spend 6 hours working on other stuff.
Yeah.
So,
which works when we're in the UK because everyone's, 5+ hours behind here.
What UK shop or supermarket has surprised you the most, in a good or bad way?
A good way, I guess. I don't know, would be the whole M&S thing, because we do have sort of like big department-like stores that have grocery and clothing and that kind of thing there, but I don't think any of them are quite as fancy as I would say M&S is.
Yeah, I really love M&S. I think what I love about M&S is that, I don't know, when you go to a supermarket here, I think, well, anywhere, you can buy the store brand stuff. Yeah. And I feel like for the most part, any of the store brands that we've tried in the UK have been good. But there's something special about, I don't know, like Colin the Caterpillar, those like Colin the Caterpillar softies are so delightful. Yeah. I crave those still. In fact, when we ordered some tea from the UK about a month ago.
You had to fill out the box with something.
I know, I had to add a little bit more to just make the box worth shipping, and I put some Colin the Caterpillar softies in there, and they were delightful.
Just a quick aside that we have gotten a P.O. box since we moved to this new place, and just wanted to say thank you to the people that have sent us a package and some nice letters. So thank you, Teddy, and thank you, Allison.
I thank you, especially a big thank you to Allison, because she hooked you up with a lot of curry sauce.
There's a lot of curry makings that I will be able to have now. I'm gonna have to figure out how to make some good chunky chips now.
Roller Baz and Coaster Dad said British music, discuss. Oh, we could discuss.
We could discuss for a real long time.
Yeah.
To keep it sort of simple, I don't know. I mean, I grew up from like teen years on loving the Beatles, David Bowie, Peter Gabriel, all sorts of things. I mean, you were a big like 80s new wave kind of fan in general, but especially like British stuff. But so am I, like Depeche Mode, The Cure. You love Erasure. We both like Erasure, but you love Erasure.
I love Depeche Mode. Did you already say that?
I did say that, yeah.
I love, Adam Ant.
Adam Ant, yeah.
Adam Ant, yeah, I'm really into 80s British music, I think. Like George Michael, I love George Michael.
Both are Smiths fans.
Oh yeah, I love the Smiths. We actually made a video that we didn't ever publish, which I kind of forgot about until now. We made a video where we each decided what our top 5 British albums were and then revealed them to each other. And we just, I guess, decided not to put it out, but maybe we should. I don't know. Would you like to see that video?
People like that. I don't know.
If you're interested in that, let us know. The first time that we went to the UK, we were like, we have to go on a music tour. And that's what we did when we were in London. It was like our big bucket list thing that we did. We hired like a private cab called Black Cab Tours, or Black Cab Rock Cab Tours?
Rock Cab Tours.
Black Cab Rock Tours. Rock Cab Tours. I don't know. We'll leave the link in the description because
his
Steven...
social media is Rock Cab Tours.
Okay. Well, Steven, the guy that does them, he's fantastic. He took us to so many historic, significant sites. He took us to Abbey Road. We got that like perfect Abbey Road shot.
Yeah. Paul McCartney's house. The first house that Mick Jagger and Keith Richards lived in together.
Freddie Mercury's house.
Jimmy Page's house, which is
Robbie Williams' house.
Next
to Robbie Williams' house. He caught us up on the duel that they had. Yeah. So we had a fantastic time. That was one of the highlights of the first trip for me. And if you're a music fan, then you should definitely check that out because that was a very cool thing. So I'm curious, what of the things that we've listed, are there any bands that maybe are less obscure that are cool British bands or artists or I mean more obscure, not less obscure, that you think that we should check out? You should let us know because I'd be interested in it.
Yeah.
I'd love to know what UK words and phrases are now just part of your everyday language. Car park. I feel like car park is the natural one because it just is so much better than like a parking lot or a parking garage.
That's fair. Lift occasionally, but not every time.
I think I say adverts a lot.
Yeah.
Which
I think we both say that one too.
Yeah. I think that's kind of my go-to for that word. There are a lot of words where I like to use the British word, but it doesn't necessarily come naturally, where car park and adverts are like
sort of do now.
Very much an everyday part of my vocabulary. Yeah. I had to get my car fixed and I kept calling it the windscreen instead of the windshield. It's just like, I don't know what it is about car parts that I like the boot better and I like what's the front called? The hood. The bonnet. The bonnet, yeah. I just think car parts sound better when they're British. And fixing my windscreen just somehow is better than having to fix my windshield. If you had to swap an American item for a British item and you weren't allowed to switch back, you had to stick with it, what would that be? And the one comment that question has, someone said sausages, and I think that's a pretty good answer.
Fish and chips.
Fish and chips is a very good answer.
I don't want to leave you guys from the UK with our not that
Yeah, we don't want to give you, I mean, we have good fish and chips, but I think the problem is that they're different. So like while ours can be good too, they're still, we don't really do that big like fillet.
Really.
With the we still have not, since we've been back, had proper chips.
No, not really.
Castles. Any favorite that you visited so far? Any worth going to see? Any overrated or underrated?
I feel like we haven't been in that many castles. We've seen them from outside. I wouldn't say any of them that we have seen, I would say are like overrated.
Yeah. I would say one of the cooler ones that we've been to and inside, because we've seen a lot of castles. Like, what was that place? Arundel? We drove through it on our way to Winchester or near it, and we could see the castle up on the hill, and it was really neat.
That was
cool. I feel like Hastings was kind of similar. I feel like there's been a lot of situations where we've been like, oh look, there's a cool castle, but then we haven't actually been inside of it. But I think Alnwick Castle was very cool. We didn't film a video when we went there. We just were wanting to hang out with our friends that day. That was on our first trip. And I would love to go back and see it again. I just thought it was
it
really
was cool.
Fun day.
Probably my favorite nerdy thing is when we were in Scotland the second time, we stopped at the castle, the main castle from Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Yes. That was very cool. We are a little bit nerdy in the sense that we like to go to filming locations and just have a little reenactment, and I was very excited to be like, your mother was a hamster and your father smelled of elderberries. And we did that at the castle, and it was fantastic. So yeah, that's a good one too. We haven't been members of the National Trust or is it National Heritage? There's two.
I think so.
And we haven't ever been members of either, but I would very much be interested in joining them. So if there's any specific castles that you think that we should visit, I would love to see more castles. Like we haven't even been to Windsor Castle.
No.
We weren't staying in Coventry. We weren't that far from Warwick Castle, which we've heard is really neat, but we didn't make it there. So it's also, we've traveled a lot by train, and I feel like sometimes the castles are a little bit harder to get to without a car.
That's fair.
But we do enjoy them. So if you have any recommendations, certainly would love to see more of them. Oh, then the next comment is about Warwick Castle. So yeah, hopefully we can make it there sometime. Have you visited any British theme parks? And if not, I can highly recommend Alton Towers. Well, thank you. It's so strange because we really like theme parks.
Yeah.
We're both big Disney fans. And we've been to Disneyland Paris. Our second trip, we decided to tack on Paris and go to Disneyland Paris because we love Disney. We were like, we're
close.
Yeah.
We'll try it because we didn't know when we were going to be back again. We didn't know we'd be back in like 6 or 8 months or whatever. But yeah, so we did it and it was fun.
I would really like to go to Alton Towers. Alton Towers seems the most like a cool British theme park. I think it looks
castle and stuff.
Yeah, it just looks really cool.
Yeah.
Plus, isn't that the one that has the Wicker Man ride? I think that ride looks cool. I don't know. It looks like a fun one. I think we also haven't really just done a like seaside amusement park. Like we've never been to Blackpool.
No, or Dreamland or whatever it is.
Yeah, in Margate. Yeah, we went. Our friends Jason and Josh took us to Margate, and Dreamland looks really fun. Like I don't know. Please recommend us your favorite amusement parks and theme parks in the UK, because I would definitely like to see more of them. Or if you've been to other ones in Europe, because I think there's other cool ones in Europe that I'd like to see too.
Fair.
This person said, I'd be interested to know what British history you've explored, which eras of British history you find the most interesting, and how you've gone about exploring these topics, maybe by visiting historical buildings or museums. So that's a really good question, and something that I love learning about historically significant places. I really enjoy going to, castles and things like that. Yeah, museums, and learning about history. I feel like I've learned so much about Roman history that I never knew about.
Yeah.
Before we went to the UK.
Yeah, I don't think we realized how deep the Roman history was in
Yeah,
the UK.
I just thought, we don't have anything like that here, and it just blows my mind to think that there are these, roads and things like that are thousands of years old. So I think that has been really neat to explore. I've especially been interested in the Roman history, but I think even other history, I feel like I barely have scratched the surface on what I could learn. I would love to learn more. But, I think of this, we took this quiz, like a pop culture quiz before we went to the first time, or before we went to the UK the first time.
I think we did pretty well. I think we got like 2/3 of it correct out of the gate, but we've learned a lot more since then.
Yeah, there was a question asking what happened in 1066, and at the time we were like, I don't know. And now I think you fast forward a couple years, we were down with our friends, Jason and Josh, and they took us to Hastings. And I'm like, Hastings, hey, I know this place. I know about it now. And so I think compared to a couple years ago, before we ever went, I know so much more about the, British history, but I still don't know that much.
Yeah, have a specific era or anything that we know. It's more like, we're going to this place, we're going to look up things about this place.
Yeah.
And not like, I'm interested in this time frame, which maybe I have to go back and do something like that.
Yeah. Steven asks, what do you make of British sport? From here, the big US sports of American football and baseball are pretty much only played in the US. Basketball perhaps has a wider audience, but not so much in the UK.
Well, I think the two big ones that you're bringing up, neither one of us care that much about, honestly.
I'll go to a baseball. I've gone to like 2 baseball games ever. I'll go to a baseball game.
I would go to a baseball game. I'd go to a football, like an American football game, but I don't really care about watching them on TV that much.
No. I just don't even have any interest in American football. I don't know. It doesn't entice me. I really like basketball.
Yeah,
that's my sport. Yeah. We both came from cities
that have an NBA team and a minor league hockey team.
Yeah. So I think growing up, and I think at the time, growing up, the Blazers were a good team. The Jazz were a good team. And so we were really into our sports teams when we were younger, our basketball teams when we were younger, because they were
getting to the finals.
Yeah, they were doing well and stuff. And I think from that period of time, I'm just a lifelong Blazers fan. I love the Blazers, but other than that, and we used to go to hockey games and stuff too, but other than that, not really. We also have, Jeremy's been to a women's soccer game or a women's football game.
Chelsea game with our friends in London.
I have not, so you should let us know where we should see a football game. And also, how do you get tickets? Because I feel like the ticket process for football matches, sorry, I'm say game, but it's a match. I tried to get us tickets, and the only tickets available were like $600 VIP or £600 VIP tickets, and I said, no, thank you.
I'm pretty sure our friends that I went with to the women's Chelsea game bought those like months and months in advance.
I don't know. So anyway, you'll have to let us know where we should see a football game in the UK and how we should get tickets, because it seems complicated to people who just maybe want to see like one game. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or match. Sorry, match. We get this question a lot. Someone asked about how you even traveled with a dog starting on the US side. And it's a lengthy, expensive process that you have to kind of prepare months in advance.
She had to get a new rabies shot, a new microchip, and then there's paperwork that you have to get through the FDA for her. And not cheap. Once you get it, it's actually fairly easy, but it was time consuming. There was multiple vet appointments and stuff like that.
We had a lot of misinformation before we left about having our dog end up in quarantine, and if you have all the right paperwork, if you have everything in order,
it's actually really easy.
Yeah, you just go right through. And she didn't end up in quarantine or anything, but we had to basically start prepping everything in time. Yeah, a couple months ahead of time. So.
Oh, and note, we flew into France with her because we didn't want to put her in the cargo hold.
Oh yeah, she'd have to fly in cargo into the UK. It's a UK regulation. So we flew into France and then took a train to Calais, and then had a pet taxi come pick us up and take us on the Eurotunnel.
So that was not the cheapest endeavor either.
Yeah, so it was a lot of work to bring our dog, but it was 100% worth it. Ooh, this is a good question. Also like, ooh, I don't like to talk about the US politics, but how does the media coverage of politics vary between the US and the UK?
I feel like in the UK it's a little more even and balanced. I don't know, from what I've seen.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. You guys, our friends and viewers from the UK, know way better than we do. But I don't know, these last decade or so of years in America has become sort of weird.
Yeah. I would say from the first time that we went to the UK, just having the TV on in the morning in the background, the thing that I would notice is that it didn't matter whose party they were interviewing. It seemed like they would ask equally challenging questions to either party. And I felt like that's something that doesn't really happen in the US.
Not so much.
I feel like the party goes on their network that likes them and then just talks about how the other party sucks, and then that's like pretty much it. And it doesn't really get a lot done. It's not very productive. It just doesn't feel very productive here, which maybe you could feel that way about the UK politics. Like, we're kind of removed from it because we aren't involved there. We don't live there. We don't vote there, you know. But from afar, it seems like we are a big old mess, and our media coverage in politics is also a mess. Melissa said, I think the next time you stay in the UK, you should rent a flat for 6 months and show us what life is really like in the UK, getting to know your community, the local people, etc. It's funny that you mentioned that, because I don't think to the extent where we spent all 6 months in one place, but
no.
When we were in the UK last year for 6 months, there were a couple periods of time where we spent a month in one place. For example, like we went to Lincoln, and we actually ended up spending, I think, 3 or 4 weeks in Lincoln.
Yeah.
And just kind of chilling out and like getting caught up on work and things, and then filmed one video and left. But it was nice. We found this really cool park that had ruins, like Monk, like a Monk Abbey ruins. I think even the road we were staying on was called like Monk Road or something
like that.
Yeah, it was just really neat. I feel like we had some very kind of unique experiences. I don't know, I feel like we got a little bit of a glimpse of that because there were a few places that we kind of hunkered down in for a while and did get to know the community and had kind of routines in these places.
Especially a place like Coventry.
Mm-hmm.
Like we kind of had regular restaurants and pubs that we went to, and
that's a great point. Our Airbnb in Coventry, we were there for a few weeks, and our Airbnb was
less than ideal.
Not a great Airbnb, and so I feel like I would finish my work and I'd be like, okay, let's go to the pub now. Let's go get some drinks and get out of this place. And so I think that kind of forced us out
a little more.
And so we did. We started going to the same pub, and people got to know Carly. Carly would show up to this pub.
And they would bring her treats and water. And
yeah, she was like, hi, I'm here. I'm ready for my treats now. And it was really cute. It was a cool experience. I think part of why we really kind of fell in love with Coventry is because of that experience and just kind of developing routines there and feeling like we were part of a community there. This person asked if you're ever going to buy a holiday place in the UK. And I think that's a great question because we get the moving question a lot. And I mean, the truth is that if we could move to the UK, I would definitely consider it.
Think about it, yeah.
It's really tough. I don't know that we would be able to.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think a holiday home would be lovely.
It'd be cool if we could swing that at some point.
Yeah, so I don't know, maybe in the next 5-10 years, maybe at some point that could be a thing.
Maybe.
Where it would be, I don't know.
Where could we afford one?
I mean, if I could choose anywhere, I would maybe pick, well, I don't know. I think there'd be two options. I'd either go city so that we could just doodle around in the city and not need a car or whatever. So maybe somewhere like Manchester.
Yeah.
I don't know. But the other thing would be like bucket list of where I would love to spend a lot of time, and that would probably be the Lake District for me.
Or the Cotswolds or the Yorkshire Dales or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Cotswolds would be good because that's kind of more central location. Fair. I think Manchester would be a good location. I don't know. I wouldn't mind living in Newcastle. No. I think Newcastle would be a good city to live in. I don't know. Where do you think we should live? Let us know.
We could.
Or if we should have a holiday home, where's a good place to buy a holiday home? The next question I just came across was saying that we have a lot of favorite places, but where's our favorite? Mentioning Robin Hood's Bay and Whitby, which also would be two very good contenders.
They're top 5, I bet, probably.
Yeah. It's just a really tough choice because there's so many good places.
Yeah. I mean, go back to York probably, or Lake District, something like that.
You know, it makes me think somebody left us a comment recently saying that we have the vibe, like if we lived in the UK, we would live in Bristol. That's the vibe we have.
Oh yeah.
And I think we've never been, but we'll have to
yet.
Go. But I'm just curious, what vibe do we have? Where do you think we should live? Do you and Jeremy ever fight? Sometimes.
Disagree.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we don't ever fist fight or anything.
Knock down, drag out fight, no.
Sometimes we get in arguments, and usually they end with us being like, and then we don't talk for 5 minutes.
Later.
Yeah.
It's like, sorry, that was dumb.
Yeah. So that's pretty much the extent of our fighting. And that's even few and far between.
Yeah, that's not a lot.
That's a good question. Dave asks, have you found any places in the UK that you love to take your family to? So we took our friends to places that we love.
Yeah.
We took our friends to York because we love York and we thought that was a quintessential English experience. And I thought that they thought it was pretty cool too.
We had them meet us in London because you gotta do London. And we went to York and then we went up through Scotland because our friend wanted to go to Scotland and I think they enjoyed all of it.
Yeah, our friend Courtney, it was her bucket list thing to see Scotland, and we went up to the Isle of Skye. We stayed in a little glamping pod.
Really cool.
It was wonderful. We almost convinced my brother to go to the UK. My brother does not ever really travel. He doesn't really want to travel. He doesn't want to go anywhere that's further than a drive that he can drive back home and sleep in his own bed. So we almost convinced him to go to London, to go to Richmond and see the pub from Ted Lasso. Go get drinks in the pub from Ted Lasso. I don't know
that we're ever going to pull that off.
Okay, a couple more. Phil asked us when you will be moving here permanently, and unfortunately, probably not anytime soon, Phil. We also got asked, what didn't you like about the UK? It's a tough question.
And I guess there was stuff I would miss from the US when we were gone for a long time.
Okay, I thought of one. When we go to a supermarket, and this is a very specific to us situation, when we go to a supermarket, if we spend over $100, it has this whole, becomes this whole, or 100 pounds, becomes this whole ordeal where they have to have someone come over and we have to sign something, and it's a whole process that slows everything down. And so that part is not fun. I don't like dealing with that.
No,
But we didn't have that too many times. We just go get a couple days worth of food. That's my least favorite thing.
It is.
And
specific.
Yeah, a very small specific thing. And not a bad thing. I'm sure it's just another
it's
tech.
Security,
it's security. Like, yeah.
It just got a little irritating.
Also, that gives a point to the UK because in the UK, I think in general, you're more protective about fraud and definitely more like fraud conscious than we are in the US. We're just like, here, have my card, take it away, bye.
Take it anywhere, I don't know, just bring it back, please. That's where we go there and people, our friends that live there, that come to the US sometimes are like, no, don't take my card.
Yeah. We almost forgot, we did get a question when we posed this
On
Q&A
Patreon.
video on Patreon. Vanessa from 2 Tickets to Adventure, our friends over there, she asked us, I don't know, you have the question.
If there was a place other than Europe that we'd like to do like long travel like we did last year.
I know your answer.
Yeah, you probably do.
Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would like to visit Japan too. I would really love to visit, I don't know, I think there's a lot of Asian countries I'd like to visit, like South Korea seems cool.
I've heard it's cool.
I'd
One
like
of
to
my
go to
friends
the
lived there for a while.
Philippines. I think we have friends that have told us about places that we should go and just basically how you can, there are a lot of countries where you can get, your money goes so far and you can just have like a really nice vacation.
That's true.
I don't know, I think Bali seems cool, but I think that's another place that people have said it's gotten more expensive, but I don't know, I think there's a lot of places we've never been.
Yeah, like
that I would like
Croatia.
to, yeah. I think
Another
India would be interesting to
yeah.
experience.
And another one that takes a while to get there is Australia,
Oh yes.
New Zealand area.
That's a good answer. We have a lot of viewers in Australia and New Zealand, and sometimes you guys ask us when we're gonna come down there, and hopefully
At some point,
at some
I would
point,
love to.
I think in the next 5 years we'd both like to. I would love to. I especially would love to see, well, I mean, we're both really big fans of Silverchair.
Yeah,
And
fair.
I feel like I want to go see like some, I don't know, is there Silverchair things to look at in
I'm sure we could find something.
We're gonna go find
Daniel Johns.
Daniel Jones.
Just him.
I, as a younger person, loved the movie The Frighteners, the Peter Jackson movie. And I always thought that the town that is filmed in is so cool looking. Like, it just seemed like a really cool town. I think it's in New Zealand. I would like to go there.
Never mind The Lord of the Rings. Carol wants to see The Frighteners.
I've never seen The Lord of the Rings. I'm a bad nerd. But no, I would love to go see the locations of the movie The Frighteners. I don't know. Where would you like to go? If you were to spend 6 months traveling anywhere, where would you want that to be? All right, here's the last one. It's a good one to ponder. We love a biscuit over here in the UK with our numerous cups of tea. How does the biscuit culture differ between the UK and the US? Also, did you sample good dunking biscuits while you were over here?
I mean, I think we've had some good dunking biscuits.
I
Hobnobs.
love hobnobs. We don't really dunk things in tea. I mean, we don't really have a tea culture here. We have more of a coffee culture, but I don't even dunk stuff in coffee.
No.
We are more of like a dunk your milk or cookies and milk.
Maybe.
Like milk and cookies. And so when we were in the UK, I was dunking hobnobs in milk sometimes. Like I would have that like as a dessert for dinner. Like, I'm gonna dump my hobnob in some milk and drink that and eat that. It was only in our tea video recently that I tried dunking my hobnobs in tea, and chef's kiss. Those were some good Dunkin' biscuits.
Yeah, like you said, I don't think we really have a biscuit culture. There's a cookie culture, I guess.
And it's more with milk than tea, so
milk.
I don't know.
I mean, there's some people that do donuts in coffee, but I don't
want that. I don't want that.
Neither of us do that. Some people do. We don't.
Anyway, thank you so much for all of your questions. I'm sorry if we didn't get to your question today. Hopefully we will in a future video. Definitely let us know if you have any other questions. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to our patrons for supporting our channel. You guys are amazing. We appreciate your support. If you want to check out our Patreon, there's links below. And if you have not seen the video where we talk about the habits that we've adopted from the UK, like tea culture and things, my driving etiquette is one of them. I feel like I have better driving etiquette because of the UK. So if you want to see that video about our habits that we've learned from the UK, go check it out. I'll be right here. We'll see you over there.